Commanders fans, gather around because today's story is big. And before we dive in, let me say this loud and clear. This team is working every single day to get better, to protect its future, to build the foundation that will bring real results back to Washington. So if you believe in this rebuild, if you believe in Adam Peters' long-term vision, and if you want to stay ahead of every insider update, hit that like button right now so this video gets pushed to more Commanders fans just like you. All right, let's get into today's exclusive story. What's happening in Ashburn right now is something we rarely see in the middle of a football season. The Commanders aren't just game planning, they're soul searching. They're sitting down, Coach Dan Quinn, GM Adam Peters, team doctors, ownership, and having serious conversations about the future of Jayden Daniels, not just the next game. And according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, one decision remains a possibility: shutting Jayden Daniels down for the rest of the season. Now, before some fans panic and others start celebrating the idea of protecting the franchise QB, let's break this down like insiders, together. November 2nd, Seahawks. A game already spiraling, and then Jayden Daniels goes down. A dislocated left elbow, and in the moment, everyone watching felt the same punch in the gut. Not again. Please, not again. Because this wasn't the first injury. Not the second. It was the third. Daniels has already dealt with a sprained left knee, a right hamstring injury, and now the elbow injury that sent shockwaves through the organization. 3 injuries in 6 games. 3 shots to the body of a quarterback whose style is electric, thrilling, and absolutely punishing. And let's be honest, Commanders fans, that style won us big games last year. It made Daniels the most exciting thing to happen to this franchise since Sean Taylor. But it also puts him in danger every single snap. The Commanders sit at 3-11 heading into the bye. Playoff chances? ESPN says 0.0%. Even Dan Quinn admitted this is a time for evaluation. And that's where the question becomes unavoidable. Should Jayden Daniels return in 2025 or not at all? ESPN's report says the team expected a 3 to 6 week timeline, but they're now bracing for the possibility he doesn't return at all. Not because he doesn't want him, not because he isn't lobbying like crazy to come back, because trust me, he is, but because sometimes the hardest decision is the smartest one. Ben Standig, one of the most trusted voices covering this team, put it plainly. He doesn't think it makes sense to rush Daniels back for 1 game. 1 game does nothing. 2 games? Maybe. But 3 or 4? Now we're talking momentum. Now we're talking growth. Now we're talking a reason to risk it. And this is key, so listen close. Standig says if Daniels comes back with 3 or 4 games left, that's enough to rebuild confidence, fix mechanical issues, test the offensive line, and go into 2026 with true momentum instead of fear. But even he admits, if Daniels is only healthy enough for 1 game, 1 half, a meaningless late matchup, you don't risk the franchise quarterback for that. Jeremy Fowler reports that the Commanders will use this bye week for what he calls big picture talks. That means no distractions, no opponent to prepare for, just one huge decision waiting for Jayden Daniels. If he doesn't play against the Broncos, insiders believe the team could pivot to shutting him down officially. Not because he's weak, not because he's done, but because protecting the franchise matters more than chasing meaningless wins. Dan Graziano adds that the plan is still for Daniels to return, but even he admits that plan could flip instantly if doctors say there's continued risk. Let's be clear. Daniels is not the kind of guy who will sit himself. He wants back in now. He's already rehabbing aggressively. He's already throwing. He's already telling teammates he wants to finish what he started. And the injury is not to his legs, not to his throwing arm. That makes him believe he should be out there. But the team has to protect him from himself, because future success, real success, depends on this kid being healthy, stronger, and smarter in 2026 and beyond. Let's take a breath from the doom and gloom. Because fans, there is a reason to smile. Rookie right tackle Josh Connerly Jr. has quietly become one of the biggest positives in this entire lost season. Remember how fans reacted when the Commanders drafted him at 29? Why take a tackle when we have Tunsil? Why move him to the right side? Why spend a first-round pick here? Well, now we know, because Connerly is becoming a stud. His first 3 weeks were brutal. Brian Burns, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby. That's not a rookie schedule, that's a bloodbath. And he struggled. Fans freaked out. Media whispered that bust word far too early. But what happened next is what separates prospects from players. Connerly got better, and then better, and now he's holding down the right side like a long-term Pro Bowler in the making. Adam Peters needed a draft hit. He got one. And Commanders fans should be thrilled because Connerly plus Tunsil could give Washington something it has desperately lacked for over a decade: a dominant tackle duo to protect the franchise quarterback. When Daniels returns, this year or next, the line in front of him may finally be the reason he stays healthy. 6 straight losses, a brutal finish in Madrid against the Dolphins, a season that feels like it's slipping away one painful week at a time. But even in that chaos, even with injuries, inconsistency, and a roster that will need major reconstruction this offseason, the Commanders finally have something positive to point to. And it isn't small. It isn't random. It isn't a fluke. 3 young players, 3 future building blocks showed real, meaningful, franchise-changing upside in that loss to Miami. And fans, when your team is 3-8, these are the things that matter the most. Let's break down the 3 players who made the coaching staff sit up in their seats, the front office take notes, and fans actually smile during what was otherwise a painful game. Let's start with the guy who deserves the biggest shout-out, rookie right tackle Josh Connerly Jr. His season started like a roller coaster with no breaks. 4 sacks allowed in his first 2 games, 11 pressures. Fans were nervous, analysts were doubtful, and let's be honest, some people use that bust word far too early. But what separates good rookies from great ones is simple: how they respond to adversity. And Connerly, he responded like a future Pro Bowler. 2 weeks ago, he went up against one of the NFL's best young pass rushers, Aiden Hutchinson. Result? 0 sacks allowed, 1 pressure. And then in Madrid, against a fast, aggressive Vic Fangio-style defense, again, 0 sacks allowed, only 2 pressures. This is no longer a coincidence. This is growth. This is development. This is a young man figuring out how to be a dominant right tackle in the NFL. The Commanders needed this desperately. They needed proof that Adam Peters' investment was worth it. And more importantly, Jayden Daniels needs a stable offensive line in front of him for the next decade. Connerly is starting to look like that guy. When Dan Quinn took over defensive play calling last week, the question on everyone's mind was, could he fix this defense? Could he stabilize the group? Could he get more out of the young players? And the first answer came fast, through second-year linebacker Jordan Magee. Magee played like the exact type of linebacker Quinn loves: fast, aggressive, smart, disciplined. 5 tackles, 0 missed tackles, which has been a huge problem for this defense. Only 22 yards allowed in coverage on 3 catches. And here's the thing. Those aren't just numbers. That's consistency. That's trust. That's a linebacker who stayed calm, read plays correctly, and didn't overrun gaps, something Washington's LBs have struggled with all year. Dan Quinn loves defenders who fly around but stay in control. Magee showed he can do exactly that. If he continues to play this way, we may have just found one of our starting linebackers for 2026, a position that has been a weakness for years. For a team looking to rebuild the defensive identity from scratch, that's huge. Now let's talk about the man who refuses to give up his carries,
Chris Rodriguez Jr. The 25-year-old back started the season on the bench, inactive, overlooked, just waiting for a chance. That chance came when Austin Eckler went down, and Rodriguez has turned it into one of the few positive storylines of the year. Look at the last 3 games. Week versus Seahawks, 12 carries, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. Week versus Lions, another touchdown. Week versus Dolphins in Madrid, season-high 79 rushing yards, 16 carries, tied for his highest workload of the season. You can see the difference when Rodriguez runs the ball. He runs angry. He runs with purpose. He hits the hole and he finishes runs, something this offense lacked early in the year. Now, let's be honest. The Commanders still need a true RB1. Whether it's free agency or the draft, Washington needs a top-tier every down back. But Rodriguez has carved out a real role. He earned the coaching staff's trust, and he brings stability to a run game that's been inconsistent for too long. This is a player who has proven he belongs and will absolutely be part of the backfield rotation next year. Here's the real insider outlook from everything we know. If Daniels is healthy enough for 3 or 4 games, the team is likely to bring him back. If he's only healthy enough for 1 or 2 games, they may shut him down. If he's not ready for the Broncos game, insiders believe we may have seen the last of Jayden Daniels this year. And no matter what happens, Connerly's development is one of the biggest wins of the season. This is a franchise playing the long game. It's about 2026, not week 14. It's about the next decade, not the next month. Look, this season has been painful, frustrating, ugly at times. But seasons like this are where real rebuilds start, where franchises make decisions that shape the next 10 years. And that's exactly what the Commanders are doing right now with Jayden Daniels. So now I want to hear from you. Should the Commanders shut down Jayden Daniels for the rest of the season or bring him back if he's cleared? And how excited are you about Josh Connerly's rise to the top? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this breakdown, if you love staying ahead of Commanders news, if you want this community to keep growing, smash that like button, subscribe to Commanders HQ, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. I'll see you in the next one. Hail to the Commanders.